Well, we're back for another episode of the Popcorn Banter Mini series. And again, we're going to be talking about the latest episode of The Mandalorian, this time titled Chapter 10, The Passenger. If you think this is only going to be a Mandalorian series, don't worry. We'll definitely be talking about other shows, but for now, The Mandalorian is kind of the only thing on. So,
Good topical.
Once again, I'm here with Keegan. Welcome back, Keegs.
Good to be back again.
How are you?
Yeah, not bad. I'm pretty fresh from watching The Mandalorian. I got to it a bit late this week. I've literally just finished it. I've got my notes here and yeah, I'm ready to talk about it.
It's always good to talk about something immediately after you see it because all those thoughts are just buzzing around in your head.
Yeah, it gives you time to just spurt out exactly what you think as opposed to sitting on it and thinking about it too much.
Well, I didn't tell you about this, but I'm going to throw you straight into the deep end. Give me a one-word review of Chapter 10, The Passenger.
That is the deep end. Enjoyed. I liked it. I thought that it was just, I think we're going to get onto this later, but last week we were talking about how the weekly storytelling was left a bit to be desired. Like we wanted a bit more of like a cohesive storyline to go through the series. But the more I think about it and the more I watch at the moment, I think it's just, it is the weekly adventures of the Mandalorian and the child. So you just kind of got to enjoy it for what it is. And for that, yeah, I thought it was a good episode.
It definitely seems to be shaping that way. And I think next week I will be ready for that. But this week I wasn't. So I would have to say my one word is disappointing. I was quite disappointed.
Opposite ends.
Yeah, different ends of the spectrum. You're just a week ahead of me. All right, so
I think I came into it expecting it. So when it shaped up that way, I was like, yeah, you know what? Especially when they call it Chapter 10, it's like it's not Series 2, Episode 2.
Yeah,
it's the next chapter.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so the same as last week, we're going to be doing the good, the bad, and the interesting. So I'll get you to kick us off again. What was your good from this week?
I liked this week the action of it. Things just kind of happened. I really liked the look at the New Republic post the Empire being brought down and the way that they're kind of the police of the area.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. That was, again, like my good last week. It's the realistic way of looking at the Star Wars universe without lightsabers and stuff like that.
It's kind of we've seen that too, isn't it?
Yeah, you've never looked at them as the police, which is kind of what the Empire were. So... But they were good police because they helped him out at the end, but they still had that, make sure you fix that transponder and then we'll be in touch. So it was sort of that transactional police sort of relationship,
Yeah, I could say that. My good for this week was the scenery, which is a constant theme in The Mandalorian. And it's something that I think, like there's a lot of things that the Star Wars movie universe doesn't really get right, or movie TV universe doesn't really get right. But the one thing that it gets right all the time, regardless of whether it's The Mandalorian or the Star Wars movies, is the scenery and just the amazing environments they always go to each week. Like whether they're on Tatooine or they're on like ice planets or rainforest planets, like they always just look so good. And that really sort of stood out to me at the beginning of this episode when he's in the what would you call it? He's on the speeder and he just gets into that kerfuffle that actually. Did you notice that didn't really do anything? Like he sort of just got into a fight and that was it.
Well, that touches on another point that I had is the Mando's never really in serious danger that you think he can get out of.
So are we calling this your bad?
No, it's more of just a comment, I guess. But going back to your good for the scenery, they're very good at doing like their ice planets, their sand planets, their bush planets, their city planets. They're kind of the staples that they stick to and they do a good job of it. So it did look really cool.
Yeah. And yeah, every episode is the same. So well done them. So let's move on to the bad. What's your bad for this week?
Mine's a really small one, but that babysitting character on Tatooine, the lady that looks after Baby Yoda, she's just way too much. She's just
not like, doing it for you.
They're trying really hard to make her this sort of relatable character, but she's just annoying. The analogy she throws out there that we as viewers just don't understand. It's just, I just don't enjoy her character. And if she doesn't come back for a while, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, it's That's definitely something that started to annoy me. Like up until this episode, didn't have a problem with that, but this episode was a bit annoying, especially when the Mando asked if she like vouched for this person, the frog lady, and she was just like,
Frog.
"For my life," and then it turns out she never even met her before, and it's just like, really, like, is
Yeah.
that this like this Mandalorian guy who's supposed to be this like ultimate badass? He doesn't take crap from anyone, and then he's just like, oh yeah, I'll take your word for it, even though you don't even really know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems sloppy to me.
It seems like he's trying to preserve a relationship that just, I don't know, he doesn't need. She
Yeah.
doesn't help out too much. She fixed his ship once, and it's like, all right, transaction over. Let's move on from this lady.
Well, that actually takes me swimmingly into my next point for the bad.
Yeah.
It's that the Mandalorian gets taken advantage of a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it just seems very out of character.
He's caught off guard a lot.
Like he got taken advantage of, like saying, oh yeah, like quid pro quo, like you take the frog lady to where she needs to go and she'll give you this information. And he doesn't really have a bartering chip in any conversation. And I don't know, I felt a bit funny about that. And it seems to be happening,
Go ahead.
happening more and more.
Yeah. He gets
As he becomes
taken
more
advantage of
relatable.
a lot, and he's not ready for things. It's kind of like when we were talking about Batman.
Yeah.
And if Batman gets surprised by something, that doesn't really happen because he's ready for everything. That's what the Mandalorian's supposed to be.
Okay. Slight technical difficulty. We're back in, but moving into the interesting. So what did you find interesting about this episode?
I think I've touched on it a bit already. I'm coming around to the noticing that it's the weekly adventures thing, which is a good show. And I think we can enjoy it for that. Last season did a couple weekly episodes, and then it did that big feature-length series finale where you get the real character progression, all that kind of stuff. So that's an interesting point just to remember going ahead. Another interesting point, when they're up against the spiders and then they had the frog lady, I thought she was going to do more against the spiders.
Yeah.
Because I thought frogs eat spiders. I thought that was kind of something that they were going to go into, but I feel like kind of missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, and you'd hate to have a debilitating fear of spiders watching this episode, right? Because that was awful. That's like that was kind of like everyone who hates spiders, that's their worst nightmare, just a swarm of spiders attacking you and one giant spider.
But at the same time, if I was being followed by a swarm of spiders and I had one person with me, I'd be happy for it to be a frog. Shouldn't do anything.
My memory isn't great on this, but is this the first time that we've seen like a non-human / alien character as the like enemy of the week kind of thing? I feel like
the dragon last week.
Yeah, that's true. Although he was with like a swarm, like those Tusken Raiders and all of those like locals and stuff. Yeah, but this one very much felt like a real villain of the week kind of thing.
Yeah.
My interesting point, and it's more weird than interesting, but the child, baby Yoda, eating the eggs. It was weird. It was real.
He ate a lot of the eggs, and she didn't mention it.
She didn't mention it. It didn't come to anything. I was thinking the whole time, I was like, this is going to mean something. Like at the end, is he going to be like actually protecting the eggs or something? But as it stands right now, he just likes eating eggs.
Well, they kind of shared a moment, didn't they? When she shot the spiders that were on top of the child and he looked at her and you thought that they had this connection where he wasn't going to eat the eggs anymore. And then at the end...
Thank you for saving my life. I'm going to eat your children.
And at no point was she like, I came with like 50 eggs. There's like 40 left. That's like a fifth of my kids.
Yeah, the whole time I was thinking that, I was like, as if you wouldn't notice that there's a lot less eggs in that little bucket type thing that she had.
Maybe that's why she had so many. Who knows?
So you've already given a one-word response, but just like quickly sum up general feelings about, well, how about instead of telling us the feelings about the episode, tell me what you think about the series or the season so far and where you think it's going to go moving forward.
I mean, it's early days. I think you can't really predict where it's going to go moving forward until like maybe the very end of the season, like you said, where you get that real storyline progression. Every week's going to be a new story. He's going to get into a new fight. He's going to meet some new people. And I mean, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to keep an open mind about that kind of stuff and just, judge them for their own merits. But for this episode, if we're doing an out of 10 again, I think it was better than last week's episode. I'd give it a 7.5. Maybe we'll push it to an 8.
Okay. For me, I would probably say out of 10, I'd probably give it a 6. I'm pretty sure I gave last week's a 7. This week was definitely worse for me because the whole time I was just like, okay, when is something actually going to happen? And it just didn't. So I'm going to give it a 6. I'll say I agree with your point. I think I need to start thinking about this differently. Like I'm expecting the storyline to pop up, to rear its head up at any point, but it just doesn't seem like that's going to happen each week. So I just need to start enjoying the shows on their own without expecting the plot to arise. I think.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think if I start doing that, I'll start enjoying the episodes a lot more.
It kind of reminds me of back when TV shows had like a season of 23 or so episodes where it was kind of weekly stories. And that kind of, when you're filling out 23 episodes of a season, that's fine.
Yeah.
This one, I don't actually know how many episodes they're going to have, but last one was 8. But they still did it last season.
Yeah, they did. But they also had a lot of filler episodes last season too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was still like episode of the week. Like, you remember one where they rescued that guy from the prison, or the one where they saved that village? They're still doing the same thing. It's the same as last season. So just enjoy it for what it is. And then at the end, we're going to have a long episode, I'm sure, where something happens.
I'll leave you with an interesting point just about Star Wars in general, because I've been thinking about this week since this episode premiered anyway, just reading everyone else's reviews, that it's so funny the difference between the movies and the TV shows. With the movies, people were so quick to just, shred the movies apart. And to be fair, I was one of those people too. But with the Mandalorian, they will look for any reason to like the show. Any reason.
I think a lot of it has to do, everyone likes it because of Baby Yoda. I feel like he really does a lot for that show.
And the Mandalorian is a great character too. And we've talked about this before, but that was what the most recent Star Wars movies were missing, those great central characters. But anyway, it was just an interesting thought. I just think it's funny how people look for reasons to dislike the movies, but they'll look for reasons to like the shows.
Yeah, it is interesting. That is interesting.
We'll leave it on that for this week. Thank you once again for coming in, Keeks. Well, you didn't come anywhere. You're at home, but thank you for being here.
It's been a pleasure anyway.
We'll see all you guys next week when we review Chapter 11. And until then, see you later.